Hello, everybody. Welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster back with you for action scheduled on Saturday, the 19th of February across Britain, as long as things haven't blown away. I have 4 selections coming up for Saturday's action. And also for the first time, I'm going to be offering my thoughts on one particular horse who is set to run at the Cheltenham Festival. So that's what's coming up. If you're joining us for the first time, please press the subscribe button just below this screen, and then you'll be able to keep in touch with all my bulletins. And that, of course, includes the weekly bulletins and, of course, those for the big festival meetings. Now, I'm delighted to say that after a pretty lean time, we came back with a bang last Saturday, and I'm very grateful to so many of you for your very kind words about the superb 230-1 double we had, which was Glory and Fortune at Newbury in the big Betfair hurdle there. And what a brave horse he was after that mistake at the last to keep going and just hold on in that desperate finish. It's nice to know that your luck has turned when the nod goes the right way. So well done indeed to Tom Lacey and Stan Shepherd, and to those of you that backed him at 20-1 or thereabouts. And then, of course, the double was up with Top Dog in the last Saturday at Newbury. As I said, he'd probably drift across the course. He tends to hang, and that he did, but he still was going forward fast enough to hold them off. He was recommended at 10-1, and I hope you were on. His SP was a little shorter, but still a very tasty prize. As well as that, the big breakaway ran very well. He finished 4th. Many firms were paying 4 places that I flagged up, so I hope you were on each way. He was only beaten just over a length despite not jumping particularly well. And Denny Lacey ran well for a very long way before running out of puff. Warwick. So that was the end of the quiet spell. I'm very glad to get that off my back, and looking forward to continuing a good run, all being well, with some interesting contenders for what is going to be very grueling racing on Saturday. Now, the weather, of course, has been horrendous, and they're expecting the storm to die down overnight Friday into Saturday. So I do hope the racing goes ahead. But at the 2 meetings I've focused on, Ascot and Haydock, the going is going to be very, very testing. It is not going to be pretty, but I've focused on horses that should handle a virtually bottomless ground. And my first recommendation is over at Ascot in the 225 race. It is the listed Swinley Chase, a handicap over 3 miles. There are 10 runners declared, and the going is soft at the time of this recording, but of course it could easily go to heavy. So desperate ground, I think we're anticipating, especially at Swinley Bottom, appropriately enough for this race. The favourite is a horse called Fiddler on the Roof, who's a lovely horse trained by Colin Tizard, and he goes well on testing ground. He's won in the heavy. He's very classy. He's still in the Gold Cup, and is an outsider, not without a chance. He, of course, an excellent second in the Lamp-Book Trophy in November, the old Hennessy Gold Cup at Newbury, and gone up £5 for that. But my thought about him is that even though he is the standout in the race, will they want to really give him a desperately hard race in these conditions if they're serious about taking their chance in one of the big races at Cheltenham? I just wonder about that. And because of that, I think he's possibly worth taking on. Now, Harry Fry has a very much improved horse called Ask Me Early, who's won 5 of his last 6. He's really progressive. His only blemish during that run was when pulling up on heavy ground at Sandown this time last year. He has won on the heavy ground, though, in the past. And he's been in good form with 2 wins in novice hurdles of late. So he's still unexposed at this level over fences. Caribbean Boy, well, he was a good winner last time out at Kempton over 3 miles. He's gone up £4, but the ground shouldn't be an issue. And Larry, for Gary Moore, he won a grade 3 here over course and distance in October. That was off just £3 lower, and he shouldn't be far away either. And then you've got Coba Lobo for John Joe O'Neill. He was beat just a nose, just that much, over the course and distance last time out. But I think the handicap has been a little bit tough on him, putting up £7 for that very narrow defeat. Now, when the conditions are as bad as these, it is important to have a horse that you know is going to handle the ground. And it also helps if you know they're going to handle this track as well. And that applies to no horse in the field more than the veteran REGAL ENCORE. And REGAL ENCORE, trained by Anthony Honeyball and the man of Richie McLernan, is my suggestion here. Now, there might be a few of you throwing your hands up in the air at this one because he is 14 years old. But this is a horse who still is able to produce a very, very good level. He's talented, and the old horses for courses adage really does apply to him. He actually won this race in 2018. He was third in it in 2019, third in 2020, and then last year he just got beaten ahead in this race off a mark of 150 when a 13-year-old. Already this season, he's been a good third to Larry over course and distance. Back in October, he's now £12 better off with Larry. He was tailed off at Warwick, which is a course that probably doesn't suit left-handed and everything else. But he weakened quickly here, 3 out at the December meeting, and that was disappointing. Now, a 14-year-old, you probably think, well, he's probably gone at the game. But he has had a wind operation since then, so they obviously feel something went amiss with his breathing. And they brought him back now as a 14-year-old for his first run of 2022. Now, the thing that really turns me onto this horse, one is the first time after the wind operation. 2, we know he loves the track. He's run so many great races here, and he loves heavy ground. But 3, he's owned by JP McManus, who is an owner who really looks after his horses and takes care of his horses. And it's always been the case that when his horses have lost their way and just aren't able to produce the goods, he'll often retire them. He's got so many horses in retirement at his various properties that I would have expected JP to say to trainer Anthony Honeyball, well, enough's enough. He's been a great servant. If you think he's not got it anymore, send him to me. I'll give him a wonderful retirement. But that's not the case. They've come back with him. They obviously feel he still has it. He's now down to a mark off 140. And I think that despite his age, if the wind operation has worked, he is grossly overpriced. And at the time of this recording, just before lunchtime on Friday, the best price on offer is with Bet365, and they are going 22 to 1 each way. I think that's a sporting bet for a horse who's done me a favour a time or two over the years. And I think he will relish conditions. If his breathing is right, he could come fast and late as usual and give them all something to think about. Now, my second race is at Haydock. It is the Grand National Trial. The going is heavy. It's 3.5 miles. It is slog. It is blood and guts. It is going to be very, very tough out there. And when it's bottomless at Haydock, you can imagine half of these virtually walking up the home straight the final time if they're still going at all. Now, I have to say, this is a very good renewal. This is a quality renewal of this race, and you really can't rule anything out. And that includes the mighty Bristol de Mai, who I've very nearly selected here. He is another course specialist, 5 from 7 at Haydock, and that includes not 1, not 2, but 3 Grade 1 Betfair chases. He's been a wonderful servant, and he was beaten 3/4 of a length in a very hot conditions race at Lingfield last time out. I think he's sure to go well off just £1 lower. We've got the 2020 Welsh National winner, Secret Reprieve, who's off a low weight here. I thought it was a weak version of the Welsh National he won that time, and he was 5th of 20 in this season's renewal. It was his first run after a long layoff, but he was beaten 44 lengths. He's likely to strip fitter, but at around 11 to 4 that I'm seeing, that looks very thin to me. Now, Sam Brown, another one for Anthony Honeyball, who might have a good day. He was only beaten half a length by Royal PICCADILLY here at Haydock in the Peter Marsh chase. That's good form. He's only gone up a couple of pounds. Dr. Richard Newland has On Card, who's gone up £9 for a 10-length win over 3.25 miles here in December, and he certainly is in good form. And then you've got the 2021 Midlands Grand National winner, Time to Get Up, in the JP McManus Silks. No show at Aintree on his only start in November, but that was his reappearance, over shorter. He's better at this trip, and the ground will not be a problem to him. But my shout here in this race is another grand old timer, and it's Black Lion, trained by the Skeltons, Dan and Harry, the brothers. And he really is another wonderful old horse, an oldie, but a goodie. And he was second in this race way back in 2017, 5 years ago. He then went on to finish fourth in the Grand National to One for Arthur a couple of months later. He was second in the race in 2018 to Jalla Enki, who was a very smart performer. And on that day, Jalla Enki was getting £15, admittedly won by a massive margin, but they eased Black Lion off when it was clear he wasn't going to get near that one. And he lost his way for a little while, and then he was off, and he joined the Skeltons, having previously been with Nigel Twiston Davis. And after a couple of years off, it took time for him to get back into shape. He had a couple of runs, and then in the Grand National last season, he ran a blinder. You probably remember the old boy, 6th of the 40 runners behind Minella Times. Was a wonderful, wonderful effort. And this season, he's probably as good as ever. He ran very well in a hot banger handicap chase behind the vastly improved Snow Leopardess. And then he's won twice, both at Haydock. He beat the talented ASO at Haydock over 3¼ miles. And then last time out, he absolutely wiped the floor with the Two Amigos over this course and distance in heavy ground, winning by 28 lengths. Now, admittedly, in heavy ground, winning distances can be exaggerated, but it was a hugely impressive performance from a very classy horse who seems to have rediscovered his old spark. Now, he has gone up £9, so that doesn't make the task any easier, but he loves the track, he loves the mud, he's in great shape, and after some consideration, I just prefer him to Bristol de Mai. And so at the best odds, again, Bet365 coming up trumps on the odds checker and the odds comparison sites. At 15-2 each way, Black Lion is my shout in the Grand National Trial at Haydock at 240. Then we're going back to Ascot for my final two selections this Saturday afternoon. The 3 o'clock race is a pretty hot handicap hurdle over nearly 2½ miles. There are 13 runners in what is again going to be very testing ground. I've got absolutely no doubt that the Sam Thomas trained runner, Good Risk at All, could well have been thrown in. He's got a really big chance of 127 after 3 solid efforts against good horses, including Jean Buck, I think, second each time this term. So he is one to fear. Then you've got Zakoni Rebel for the Toby Laws stable, just a small yard, doing very well with this horse in the colour of Andrew Waits, who, of course, won the Grand National way back with Rough Quest. Now, this one is first time in a handicap, and that's after winning 2 from 3 novice hurdles this season, so he could easily be anything. Chris Gordon has Highway 102, who was a very good second in the Lanzarote hurdle last time out on soft ground, has only gone up £1, and he could be dangerous. And then Paul Nichols's yard, coming back to form after a quiet spell. He has Cap du Matin, a very lightly raced horse who was off 2 years before reappearing recently at Taunton and winning very impressively. He's gone up £9, but he could still be ahead of the handicapper. Now, Christopher Wood has been a good handicapper over the seasons, and it's interesting that he's moved to join Venetia Williams. He has his first run for Venetia, and on the pick of his old form, he's well weighted. He's come down the weights over the last year after a few rather disappointing runs, but there were signs last time he might be on the way back. But having tipped you a couple of old-timers in the first 2 races this Saturday, I'm going for a very young horse here in this race, who is completely unexposed, and her name is Piccadilly Lily. She's trained by Alan King and is the mount of Sam Whaley-Cohen. Now, this horse really is an unknown quantity, and I'll explain to you my logic, such as it is, in going with this filly. She's a 5-year-old mare, ex-French, 3 runs in France, and she's having a first run for the excellent Alan King. Now, she's had the 3 runs in France. They were all at Auteuil, which, of course, is the premier French track. She was upside when she fell on her debut at the final flight in October of 2020, and may well have won if she'd stood up. And then she went back to that track 2 weeks later, and she won in really good style. And then after a break of about 7 or 8 months, she finished 3rd at Auteuil in what is already turning into quite a hot race in May of last year. The winner has come out and won since. The second horse has run well on its only start for Nicky Henderson. So I think the form of that French race at Auteuil could be pretty useful. Now, Alan King is a trainer who's very adept at getting a horse ready after an absence, and Piccadilly Lily has been off for 9 months. But the thing that really made me consider this horse is the fact that Alan King has given her an entry in the Grade 1 Close Brothers Mares Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival in 4 weeks' time. Now, he doesn't throw entries around, Alan King, so she's obviously been showing something at home. And there she is entered possibly as an outsider of big odds, 33, 40 to 1, something like that at the moment, for the Close Brothers. So if they're going to run her there, she would have to go very well here in a handicap for the first time off just 122. So it could be she's a blot on the handicap. It might be that it was just a speculative entry in that Grade 1. But as I say, Alan King will not be throwing money around in entries. And I think she's obviously shown something. So Piccadilly Lily to surprise on her first ever start in Britain. She is 14 to 1 each way. And once again, it's Bet365 who are leading the market at this stage of trading Friday lunchtime, but all changed, so do remember to shop around. She is 14 to 1 each way for 4 places with Bet365. The rest are offering 12 to 1 or less. Piccadilly Lily will go at Ascot in the 3 o'clock race. And then to my final choice on Saturday, and it's the big race of the day, the Ascot 338 is the Grade 1 Betfair Ascot Chase. It's 2 miles, 5 furlongs. There are 8 runners, so let's hope they all stand their ground. The each way counts for 3 places. There are 2 previous winners in the race. The enigmatic Waiting Patiently, who's now with Christian Williams. He won it in 2018 in superb fashion. And last year, it was Dashel Drasher who got the best of what was probably a slightly below par renewal. Now, the favourite at the time of this recording at 5 to 2 or thereabouts is Joseph O'Brien's Irish raider, Fakir Duderi, who runs in the colours of JP McManus, and Mark Walsh is coming over to ride. Now, a really cracking horse this. He won the Grade 1 Melling Chase at the Aintree Festival last April. Already this season, he's won a Grade 2 at Clonmel on his reappearance and has seen a rear view of the very, very classy Allaho in 2 starts since then. Both of them red-hot races. So he comes here with a very good CV. Paul Nicholls has St. Calvados, who will have his second start for the stable, a very classy horse, who I thought ran a tremendous race when he was 3rd in the King George at Kempton on Boxing Day on his first start for the stable. And I think he's better at this trip at 2 miles 5 than the 3 miles. You may remember him just being beaten in a photo finish by Min in the Ryanair Chase at the 2020 Cheltenham Festival. Nicky Henderson has Mr. Fisher, who came back to form when winning the Grade 2 Sauvignon Conte race at Kempton. And you've got Fagnon d'Estraval for the informed Venetia Williams. It's gone up £11 this term and won a Newbury handicap chase in November. There was a very good second over course and distance last time out, giving £15 to Phoenix Way. A horse I've always held in some regard is Colin Tizard's Lost in Translation. He won over this course and distance on his reappearance before struggling in the King George last time, but they do better here. And then there's the race at Lingfield on January the 23rd, won by 2 for Gold, trained by Kim Bailey. Now there, he just edged out last year's winner of this race, Dashel Drasher. There was a short head between them, and Dashel Drasher was conceding £6. They're off levels here. And Dashel Drasher has a great record at this track. He's 4 from 5, including, as I said, this race 12 months ago, and he is my choice for Jeremy Scott and Rex Dingle. He loves the track. He loves this ground. And Rex Dingle seems to get on really well with the horse. We saw last time he just got beat on the nod. It could have gone either way when he was just beaten in that valuable race at Lingfield by 2 for Gold. So he's £6 better off with that rival for a short head. And I think he looks the value here. Now, this time around, 6 to 1 each way is on offer generally with the likes of Boyle Sports, William Hill, Bet Victor, Coral, Betfred and Ladbrokes, amongst others. So I'm backing Dashel Drasher to follow up last year's win in this race for the underrated trainer, I think, Jeremy Scott. And it could be a real day to remember for Rex Dingle. So those are my 4 choices for Saturday. Now, briefly, I noted a few people have been asking in recent weeks, have I got anything to say about the Cheltenham Festival? Well, I've been sort of keeping my powder dry, but I just want to leave you with a thought for the festival about one particular horse. And the race in question that I'm hoping he's going to run in is the Stayers Hurdle. On the Thursday of the festival, a race won by Flooring Porter last year. He's already in good shape already this season as he tries to defend his crown. You've got Champ and Paisley Park, who met recently. Paisley Park, the former champion, produced that amazing victory to come from nowhere and get back on track. Classical Dream, on his day, very, very classy, and won't be far away. And Time Hill as well for Philip Hobbs, horse who is a very, very talented stayer. But the horse that I really am interested in, but I don't know if he's going to run, is Asterion Forlange, who's trained by Willie Mullins in Ireland. Now, if he does take his chance, I'll be on, because this is a horse who has a huge engine. He's a tremendously talented horse. He's a really bonny, rangy type of a grey. He's been campaigned over fences the last few seasons, and he's shown a lot of ability, but he also makes mistakes. He could have won a hatful of big races by now. Just take this season. He had every chance and was going really well 3 out in the Grade 1 John Durkan at Punchestown in early December when he unseated Ryder. He fell at the last in the King George, of course, you remember, on Boxing Day. I'm not saying he would have won. He was a few lengths down, but he was still keeping on. When he came down there, he would have been in the frame. And then a couple of weeks ago, he finished fourth to the shock winner Conflated in the Irish Gold Cup. He made a few errors there. He's got such an engine, but he just doesn't seem to quite produce it over fences. Now, what has interested me here is that he's got an entry in the Stayers Hurdle, as well as an entry in the Ryanair Chase and the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Now, he's only had 3 runs over hurdles. He won on his debut at Naas in January 2020, and then he won a Grade 1 at the Leopardstown Festival 2 years ago in February of 2020. He was very impressive in a good race. He then was favourite for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. That was in 2020, the race won by Shishkin. And you may recall the race, but Asterion Forlange jumped out to his right most of the way, was giving lengths away. Quite how he was still there with a chance to out, I don't know. But eventually he finished fourth. Now, he's much more experienced since then, and he's run very well on left-handed tracks since then too. He really is a dark horse if he goes for the Stayers Hurdle. We know he stays 3 miles. He stays 3 miles over fences, but he's unexposed over hurdles. He's got that engine. He jumps his fences sometimes as if he's hurdling. And so if he runs, I think Asterion Forlange is fascinating. Now, one other thought about the horse is that when you look at the anti-post market, most of the firms for the Stayers Hurdle go between 12 to 1 down to as low as 6 to 1. Sky Bet are only 6 to 1 about Asterion Forlange. But Unibet are still going 25 to 1. That's each way, 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm not saying to go out and back him because I don't know if he's going to run. But this is one horse I will be watching very closely. And I'm not sure I'd be prepared to back him over fences at the festival. But if he runs over hurdles in the Stayers, I'll be on. So that's my first thought on the Cheltenham Festival. Of course, it'll be interesting to hear what you think about that and your views on the Stayers Hurdle. You can post them, of course, just below this window. But for now, for this weekend, from me, Paul Alster, thanks very much for joining me. Best of luck with all your selections, whatever you go for. I'll be back same times next week here at Sportsbet TV. Bye-bye for now.